Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, my Dynasty degenerates everywhere. I am your host for the evening, Rich Sickles. This is Dynasty 365. And with me tonight, we have a star-studded cast that is making me feel as though I walked into the wrong chat room. We got Who from Club Fantasy FFL. We got Biggs from the Undroppables. JJ Wenner, host of the Rider Dynasty podcast, and also JJ, there was another one that and I forgot to add.
It's all right. The all-out blitz.
The all-out blitz. That's not all right. I got to get that together. And we got Mike Cash, co-host of Fantasy Football RPG podcast. How y'all doing tonight? How you doing? As you mute yourself.
I'm doing great. I'm just gonna take a sip of my tea because my voice is a little shot. I was celebrating Monday night a little bit too hard after that Gibbs touchdown. I was screaming at the TV pretty hard. So I got to take it easy, but got 2 hours tonight. I'm on this show and I'm on the follow-up show as well. So we're going to have a good night. We got to take it easy and coast for the next 2 hours.
Heck yeah. Which I will say live on air in front of everyone. Congratulations, Hooven Yvette. They won the Pros with Joe's championship. They were going up against me and Ryan Hallam. It was a great time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Albert, I see you in the chat. Good to see you. JJ, how's your night going?
My night is going great. Happy to be here with some old faces like Jason from Dynasty Nerds. It's good to see you, Jason.
Yep. I'm the oldest of the faces. Hello. It's nice to see you.
I actually have Benjamin Buttons, if you didn't know.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for old. So
Right. I always surprise people with my age, but I don't think that I'm the oldest one here. I'll be honest. But I'm up
You're
there.
an older looking 14.
Right. Yeah. Biggs, how you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic. My new year started off as bad as it could have, and it's only gotten better. And so now I have 365 more days of better and better and better. So
that's right. Good deal. Happy to have you here. Jason, you kind of already got at it or introduced a little bit, but how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. I started off better than Big, so I guess I'm pretty satisfied with that. I had to come here for my ego boost, and I'm feeling pretty good now.
There you go. And Mike, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic. Got back from holiday travels today, and I'm happy to be home and recording from somewhere that is not on the road. Right.
Yeah, no, that's always rough. That is always rough. No, it's awesome that you're all here. Thank you so much for joining us. I forgot to say Jason Snyder with Dynasty Nerds because I had you in a second pile of people that are going to be joining us tonight because our purpose for being here is we're doing a redraft of the 2024 rookies. We had some expectations going into the season. Some are met, some were exceeded, some were grossly misinterpreted. And tonight we're going to discuss what went right, what went wrong, and give some input in how we approach future Dynasty drafts, both rookie and startups. And in the background, we got some good folks helping us with the draft. We got a nerd named Andrew. Andrew is a free agent right now, but he was previously with Dynasty Nerds writing as well. We got John McGlynn, TJ. Well, actually, no, TJ did not join us. Jorge and Drew. We got the Fantasy and Frames crew picking up the slack for me, helping me out, doing this draft tonight. But before we get into all that, I'm going to hit this intro button music like it's a commissioner that owes me my championship winnings. Bam. Everybody, let's go. Watching you all dance in the boxes, that's exactly how I feel every time I hit that button. That's just great.
I just want to show off my sticker.
Oh, nice. Representing the Fantasy and Frames crew. We appreciate that. Actually, that does remind me I should probably do a little plug in here. Like, subscribe, and review to catch any time a new podcast or short from us drops. Starting in 2025, you can search for all of the podcasts here at Fantasy and Frames by name wherever you listen to podcasts. For us, make sure to subscribe to the Dynasty 365 podcasts, and make sure to head over to fantasyandframes.com for the latest weekly IDP and Dynasty rankings, articles, takes, news, and notes. And speaking of news and notes, got some news and nugs from this last week, and some of it's kind of speculation. It's not really there yet, but I figured I'd just throw it in there. What do you all think about the Kirk Cousins possibly being cut in the offseason? Let's start with Biggs. You got anything?
I mean, Atlanta is in a position where they can do it and take a big cap hit. It's something that we all kind of didn't see coming, but we all speculated as soon as they drafted Penix that Cousins had a very short leash and he didn't get to finish the season. It was 2 years that we kind of thought was the timeline, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they just cut bait right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's shocking me how bad everything went. I really thought that they were making the right decisions, but hopefully they get it right, letting them go. But yeah,
hopefully for our dynasty shares of Drake London and Bijan Robinson and Daryl Mooney.
Right, and of course there's always my favorite, Kyle Pitts. Which, hey, he got me the 14 points I needed in our league, Mike. Sorry about that. He finally came through for me once this season.
Kyle Pitts, league winner.
I had Kyle Pitts and Zach
league winner.
Outscore my whole lineup. It's fine.
Yeah, Zach Ertz might have had something to do with it. That's true.
25 points out of Zach Ertz, baby. But to answer the Kirk Cousins question, I actually have an article coming out tomorrow regarding this matter. So if you guys are curious, you guys can head over to Club Fantasy and check out that. I got top 5 Kirk Cousins destinations for 2025 coming out tomorrow at some point. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But you almost have to think that he's going to get cut. If the Broncos were willing to cut Russell Wilson at last season to clear that cap to move on, I think that's where the Falcons are at. You know, they wanted to do the whole Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love thing, but anyone that knows how it probably would have played out if Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing MVP level, that they were going to make that transition so much faster than it actually was. He had to ball out to keep that job. So they wanted to get Penix in there as fast as possible. And is it 1 year in that everyone was expecting? No, but that's where the cards have been dealt, and we got to go with it. And I don't think that Kirk Cousins is done by any means. He could retire, but
I swear to God, if Las Vegas is anywhere near your top 5 list, you better edit that out before you publish.
It is not, and that's the only giveaway I'll give on the article.
Thank goodness.
Not the Raiders.
Ooh, a little sneak peek preview of what you won't get.
Raiders aren't that smart.
That's right.
Got some others in the chat here. Ronnie, good to see you, buddy. Holy crap, why are all my friends on one space right now? Because they're awesome. I mean, you know, we did have a pretty star-studded crew tonight. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm not gonna lie. We got Chalupa Batman, Zach in the chat.
I got the cookbook right back
looks
here.
Looks like we got fantasy football. Yeah, got the cookbook as well right here.
Hashtag Dads for Lad. Let's go.
Yeah. Dads for Lads. And Jorge in the chat as well. He's helping us do the draft. We're going to jump into that here in just a second. I do have one more thing that I have to get into. Dynasty decks, as you get closer to winning those fantasy football championships, or as they have probably already happened for you, what better way to capture your victory and immortality than by getting your own Dynasty Deck Championship plaque? Dynasty Decks, or the DynastyDecks.com, provides fully customizable championship plaques for any fantasy football league, whether on offense or IDP. Use promo code FRAMES and receive $5 off of the purchase price, which is very affordable compared to the other markets on other websites. Head over to thedynastydex.com today. All right.
Do you ever almost say Dynasty Dicks? when you're doing that promo read? Like, I know I would make that mistake every time.
Right. I feel like there's like a cross reference there with myself, Dick Sickles and everything. Like I could work it in there somewhere.
You could just work in a dick. That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you.
I think that's your next podcast, Rich.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dynasty
Oh
Dick.
man, we're going off the rails early. This is great.
I was thinking like Suburban Dad, like it's just a Dynasty deck, but it's just all of the picks that you've made laid out on your front yard.
All the deck picks.
Yeah, I love a good deck pick.
I love it. Nice. All right. Well, let's get into this here a little bit. Our topic for tonight, like we said, it is the 2024 rookie redraft. We're going to do 2 rounds. We'll catch up talking about the picks being made, and we'll give our thoughts on the players that we're selecting. We'll try to start with whoever has made the pick, if they are in the room, and as long as they are not on the clock. And then we'll open up to a forum discussion. So with that, let's get into it. Oh, thank you. All right. So let's start this draft. We got a full room. Hoove, you're kicking us off.
All right. I knew that I could snipe Biggs here with the 101. I know where he's going with the 102. It's clear as day, pretty obvious, but clear and obvious as it may be, the 101 should be Jaden Daniels, 100%. Overlapping Caleb Williams. Let's count the ways, honestly, for Jaden Daniels. How many top 5 finishes, how many top 10 finishes has he had this season? QB3, QB5, QB1, QB2, bye week, QB7, QB1, QB4, and then they have Dallas this week. Rustin, more than likely not up to full caliber. They got the playoffs locked in, but Jaden Daniels is a dog. I mean, with what he was given and with what everyone kind of expected the Commanders to be this season, complete turnaround. They traded Jahan Dotson, who everyone thought maybe he could have been something. Nope, he wasn't the answer. They went Terry McLaurin, full DJ Moore mode, the whole offense. And Zach Ertz has been a dog at times throughout the season, but at the helm, it's been Jaden Daniels being the facilitator. So Jaden Daniels, 101.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm going on a podcast with Jax Falcone tomorrow night to kind of recap the 2024 season, give our MVPs and all year teams and everything. And Jaden Daniels won me 3 championships. Didn't win me my home league, unfortunately, but solid pick. And then Superflex, that's absolutely the 101. I went Bowers simply because I'm a Raiders fan, and I fed Brock Bowers pizza one time when I worked in Napa, and his high school was across the street from my pizza restaurant. So I have a personal connection there, and also he's an absolute stud, busting out as a rookie, setting records, tight end 1 in fantasy, and he was a 3-year declare. So, the dude is going to be a stud for at least the next 10 or 12 years. And I don't think we're looking at a Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid situation. I think Brock Bowers is the real thing, and he's going to be the 101 or the tight end 1 for a long, long time.
Question for you, Biggs, real quick.
Yeah.
If this was a non-super flex, how closer, or do you think Bowers would be the 101 in that scenario?
I still have Neighbors higher. Just because I feel like he brings. So in Dynasty over time, Bowers' trade value is probably higher for me than Neighbors, simply because of the positional scarcity. But production-wise, Neighbors is going to be like the elite of this class. Even if Brian Thomas Jr. had the touchdowns on him this year, once New York gets a competent quarterback. And I kind of waffled to going Neighbors there, but I went Bowers instead just because I wanted to talk about my guy. But in non Superflex and single quarterback leagues, it's got to be Neighbors.
I would have taken Bowers over Neighbors in a heartbeat. I think there's tight end 1, Brock Bowers, and then there's a big tier, and then you start talking about the rest of the other guys. And Brock Bowers for the long haul, locked in as your tight end 1. Gimme.
That's a fair assessment.
Does actually the one question that I had, like that was actually probably a better one than what I was thinking, but does tight end premium change anything? Like I feel like as soon as you start throwing those tight end premium points, depending on how much you're getting, of course, that's going to jack them up just a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah. absolutely.
For sure.
And we had him tracked in our analytics models going into the 2024 season. He was basically the wide receiver 4 of the rookie class, based on college production at the tight end position. So we knew it was going to be a smash, just didn't expect tight end 1, maybe top 5, not tight end 1. But the only thing that I would say is that it's easier to kind of recover points at the tight end position than it is at wide receiver. So that's only the only reason that I would kind of lean Neighbors at the 101 in a single quarterback. Because I mean, tight end, you can pretty much go down the top 7 and you're probably going to stay competitive.
Yeah.
But we had the guy that won our home league, and this is it was random chance that this happened, but he has Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. And so he absolutely ran away with everything. And if you have a situation where those guys start to fall out and you have Malik Neighbors and say some guy coming out of this class and, a Brian Thomas Jr. to add to that, and you have those 3 top 5 or 6 wide receivers, you're going to be pretty unstoppable.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, I like that a lot, actually. That's I'm you said one of the guys that obviously I picked him. We're gonna get into the picks after we as we're going along here. We're gonna try to do one at a time here. But Brian Thomas, love him. Absolutely love him this year. We got Jorge picking Malik Neighbors. Let's see. It's gonna be a little bit here before we got who we got. Mike, you got a little ways before you have to pick. What do you think about Neighbors going at 103 overall?
I think it makes a ton of sense. There was an argument earlier in the season. I think it was a little too early, but people were saying that he was the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. He's obviously amazing. He does all of the after the catch stuff. He can earn targets. He is the focal point of their offense.
Yeah.
He's clearly the wide receiver 1 in the class, unless you want to talk about Brian Thomas, which is hilarious because I think is Adunze still on the board, or did he got taken at the back end of the first round? But people would laugh at you if you took him earlier beforehand.
Right. Yeah, no, I was seeing Adunze there when I was picking it. I was like, oh, that kind of seems interesting, but no, I don't know if it's the trio aspect of it or if it's the Chicago Bears themselves that has me scared off from them, but there's something there that's worrying me. They need to get things working together. Vince, we see in the chat, Javon Baker still being on the board is a disrespectful, in my opinion. Absolutely. It's good to see you. Happy New Year's to you as well. Let's see. So first couple picks, we got Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, Neighbors. JT Orange took Drake May. I think that's a solid pick right there, personally. JJ, what do you think about the Drake May pick?
I love Drake May. Our buddy Joe Lowe, who does the podcast with me, might be the biggest Drake May fan. He had him ranked 1 overall going into the season, but being on an absolutely terrible New England team behind a terrible offensive line, I think he's actually shown up pretty well this year. So as that team gets better, they have the number 1 overall pick. We'll see what they do with that. But if they can start getting some people we can recognize on that offensive line, that'd be a big step forward. Maybe get him a weapon or 2. But I think Drake May's future, especially in a super flex league, is pretty good.
Yeah. I just can't believe he went over Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix has proven throughout the whole season how great he can be as a fantasy value. And at quarterback and a super flex, it'd be hard not to take Bo Nix over Drake May right now, personally. More of a sample size that we've gotten out of him. I really like what Bo Nix has done in Denver. And he's probably had maybe one more weapon in Cortland Sutton. But other than that, it's ghost town in Denver and in New England. And what their fourth round pick, Troy Franklin, was he going to be the answer? Probably not. Greg Dulcich, my guy, wasn't the answer. Javon Williams, not the answer. Audric Estime, not the answer. So Bo Nix is a dog too, and it's the big talking point out of this is that they're both probably going to go over Caleb, but for the long haul, I don't know if I'd be able to take them over Caleb, but I understand why in this scenario we would be. But I'd take Bo over Drake right now.
I think when you're looking at these rookie quarterbacks, you want to try to evaluate their talent, not necessarily their fantasy points right now.
Right.
If we're just evaluating their fantasy points, they're pretty similar in a points per game basis. If we're talking about who you watch play and you're like, man, that guy can take a team all the way, like this is clearly a franchise guy, that's Drake May to me. I think there's still going to be a stink in the Dynasty community. Like Bo Nix could go out and be the QB1 for a whole season and he's still going to have haters. Drake May can go out and be the QB 25 and we're going to be like, give him another year. So I would take the insulated asset in Drake May.
Let me make an argument to that. Actually, it's like people like Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be the talking point that gets people interested. But when I think about someone like Aaron Rodgers is at his peak, he wasn't like a league winner, even though he was balling. He was like putting up like 20, 25-point games. That's kind of like what I think Drake May could be. Is like he doesn't necessarily need a ball. He could be a winner and he could help put the Patriots over. But Bo Nix, his play style, like when I was doing draft evaluations last year, I really wanted to go full in and say the Jalen Hurts comp, but I had to go with Jalen Hurts light just because I didn't see as much in Bo Nix. I knew he's a starter, but I definitely saw more in Jalen Hurts at the time. But like that's what you're getting. You're getting someone with experience, with college experience, a lot of time at starter, and then someone with legs that he can extend the plays. And Bo Nix is, I just can't say enough great things about what Bo Nix has done this year. I'm really excited with what he's going to do with Sean Payton. And that's
just
another factor. Sean Payton.
Drake May has more rushing yards as a rookie than Aaron Rodgers has had in any season in his entire career. Drake May can run, dude.
Yeah.
I had May comp to Josh Allen, and so I like your Bo Nix to Jalen Hurts. I had Drake May to Josh Allen, and I mean, both of those comps are playing out. So,
yeah,
I'm not there yet with Drake May. I think Drake May is gonna. I think he's more like Baker, and once he gets like a ton of help around him, maybe we can see the peak of Baker, like we're seeing right now, like top 10 finishes consistently, top 5 consistently, but. Or top 5 upside at times.
He doesn't throw interceptions the way that Baker does, though, or did in the first few years of his career. He's never been that guy to kind of make those throws, and he has the Josh Allen size and rushing upside. Basically, he as a sophomore in college, his numbers exceeded Josh Allen's in the NFL in fewer games, and it was a pretty apt comparison. Not saying that he's ever going to reach the level that Josh Allen is now, dropping 50, 60 points in a game. But you're splitting hairs when you start. Oh, well, Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts, Drake May over Bo Nix. Those are kind of like, you can be on either side of the fence and still be right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Baker point is, I think that there's like, let me pull it back a little bit on it and go kind of Baker, not full Baker. And with the evolution of quarterbacks is that more quarterbacks are having that rushing upside. And so like he can have it, but also like be limited by the people around him, by the coaches around him. And that's the Baker comp is I'm kind of getting at is I want to see when we're going to get the full Drake May experience with all the help and the great coaching. And then I can say, absolutely, let me take him over Bo Nix because like, we got Sean Payton with Bo Nix, and we're seeing it throughout a whole season of sample size. So I don't know if I'm ready to make any bets for 2025 yet. It just started. This is January 1st, so we don't need to be making any bets yet. But I will say we should circle back on this at some point closer to the season and maybe doing who finishes higher, Drake May or Bo Nix next season.
No, Hoof. Put your money where your mouth is. Let's do a pie in the face bet right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm kidding.
Oh, you want to mess this face up? All right. We might be able to do that. But let's move on to another talking point. And take up all the time.
No. Actually, this is a good segue. I'm really enjoying this back and forth that we got going on between Bo Nix and Drake May. When the 101 for most places, at least, I'm pretty sure that the ADP for Caleb Williams was 101. Every draft that I was in, that's where he was going at, especially in Superflex. And that is where he went next at the 105 now. Jason, why'd you take Caleb's there?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably a combination of some of the things we've already discussed with some of these other quarterbacks. But as you mentioned, he was a consensus 101 pick. He obviously came into the league with quite a bit of talent. It's not just the Dynasty community that rated him 101. It was the NFL that rated him 101 as well.
Right.
And they've got a pretty good track record of identifying talent. I feel personally, where I went at 105 there was, I know he hasn't had the season that a lot of people were hoping he would have, or the breakout that people were looking for, but he does have a lot of talent around him. He has a lot of talent that stands to still be there in the coming seasons. And I think if they get some competent coaching in there, you could see a pretty rapid turnaround for that organization and for him individually. So I feel like there's a lot of upside there, not to mention he's also, the term insulated asset came up not long ago. And I think he's certainly pretty insulated. I mean, if you shop him around in your dynasty league, he's still going to carry tremendous value. He's got name recognition. And even if some of the people that aren't crazies like we are, if they're fringe players, they know that name and they're probably willing to pay up for that name. So to get him at 105, I'm totally comfortable with that spot.
What's the most reasonable name to land in Chicago as head coach?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think it's still going to be Ben Johnson, just to ruin my life.
I think it's going to be Mike McCarthy.
Oh Lord!
Oh, I hope not. I kind of hope it does, but being the Vikings fan, sorry.
No. Is Mike McCarthy, as much as people like to, poke fun at Mike McCarthy, top 3 offense. So if you want someone to get the most out of Caleb Williams, Mike McCarthy might be the guy. It's nasty, but like how many coaches are going to sign up to want to get fired in 2 years in Chicago? Not many. Probably the only coach that got fired from Green Bay, got fired from Dallas, even though he probably earned that job back again. And he's probably going to end up somewhere else because he's a competent head coach. He might not be a sexy hire, but that's what you're going to get when you have fish rotting from the top down in your franchise like Chicago is. You get Mike McCarthy as your head coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a home run hire.
I mean, to me, the only thing that really scares me about Caleb Williams is the fierceness of that division. I mean, the competition around him. He's looking at playing those 3 teams. That's a gauntlet for the foreseeable future. I mean, all 3 teams in that division seem to be on the up. Like, they're not only good, they're ascending. And that's scary when you're a team that's a bottom feeder team in that division and you're looking to kind of bounce back and you're looking, it's like sitting in the front row of the movie theater. You're looking straight up. It's not like, oh, maybe we can pick on the 3rd place team. They're all brutal in that division.
Yeah. I mean, it was supposed to be the Vikings,
right.
We were supposed to be the bottom team, and especially after we signed Darnold, that's where everybody had us at and everything, and had them at, I should say. But yeah, no, like the coaching of KOC, the coaching of LaFleur, Campbell, like they all have great coaches. That's the thing. The Bears are missing 2 important components, in my opinion, is the head coaching position, and that's why I think they're going to get Ben Johnson. I think that he's the better coach out of between him and McCarthy. If I'm a Bears fan, I'm clamoring for it. But and then offensive line, they need to get that offensive line fixed.
Yep.
If they can get that offensive line figured out, they're firing on all cylinders. That defense is one of the best in the league. The wide receiver trio that they had, they'll still have Moore and Odunze. Allen's not there anymore after this year, right?
I don't think so. No, I think he's a 1-year deal.
Yeah. Yep. So, but still, I mean, Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. I mean, 2 years ago, DJ Moore was wide receiver 2, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's a scary offense.
And I mean, as an Eagles fan, I can tell you, 2 years ago, you saw what DeAndre Swift can do with competent blocking and the right scheme. Right. So like he's not nothing. I mean, he was completely neutralized and he was probably used inappropriately this season. But you get a visionary coach in there with an offensive mind and a skill set, you can really turn those weapons into something, I think. But to your point, they've got to be able to block. They've got to be they're kind of built backwards. Usually you build from the trenches back, and they're kind of built with talent and no talent in the trenches, which is kind of you can see how that bears no fruit. I mean, it's not sexy and it's not talked a lot about in the fantasy circles, but if you're not taking care of business up front, you're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to add about that is there's a great analogy being in the movie theater looking straight up is like offensively, you're going to need someone to come in there and be able to score 35 points a game to compete with Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. But also the point you're adding about the offensive line is to the Bears' credit, or maybe we shouldn't be as hard on the Bears as we are, because these are insane defenses that they're going up against. An Aaron Glenn defense, a Brian Flores defense, and I'm sorry, I'm spacing on the Packers defensive coordinator now, but that's another one. They're all so good, and that this offensive line, as great as it could be, this offensive line had some promise going into the year, but when you're going up against defenses like this 6 times a year, how good can you be? You need stars in that offensive line to compete. So the Bears are in for the long haul. It's gonna be rough.
Well, and to that point, that's one of the things that, and kind of circling back to Caleb Williams being at the 105 here, he was really good at being able to escape the pocket, being able to extend plays. Like some of those plays, there's so many times where I was like, we got him. Like the Vikings just were surrounding him, and he somehow slipped out and would make a throw 20, 30 yards down the field. Like he's definitely got that ability, and I think you're right, Jason. As far as I think he fell a little bit. I'm still taking him over May and Bo Nix. I think we were right about Jaden Daniels being the 101, but I think Caleb Williams long run, I'd rather have him. But let's move along. We're at the 30-minute mark almost, so we're almost halfway done. That brings us up to my pick, which was Brian Thomas, wide receiver 4 on the year is where he ended, which is crazy thinking about like where he was being drafted at, what people expected from him. I mean, in dynasty rookie drafts, he was going at about the 108, 109, 110 range. And then he just blew up. He got on the scene, and whether it was the actual starting quarterback in oh my gosh, and now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Somebody save me.
Trevor Lawrence.
Thank you, Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones. Thank you. Yeah. It didn't matter which one it was. They were still peppering him. The offense was going through Brian Thomas, and he went from being in redraft pick 118 to being a top 5 wide receiver, which just kind of blew my mind. I am a little interested to see how he continues to develop, if he's going to continue to be a focal point of that offense and everything, especially with the most likely changes that they're going to have at offense, or with the coaching and everything in general. And who knows what's going to happen with Trevor Lawrence moving down the long run. But yeah, Brian Thomas, everybody. Round of applause.
Absolutely. I'm a Taurus, so I'm stubborn, and I'm going to say I like Marvin Harrison still more just because I'm stubborn about it. But Brian Thomas Jr., he demands respect right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were this close to trading Christian Kirk to the Steelers before he went down for the season. So, like, the Jaguars are committed to moving on in that wide receiver core with Brian Thomas Jr., and if it's Gabe Davis as the 2, maybe, but probably not. They'll probably bring someone else in to be the true 2 in that offense. But Brian Thomas is the one, and that he's got Trevor Lawrence. Whether you think Trevor Lawrence is good or whether you think he's average or what, that he's got a quarterback for the next 4 years that's going to feed him the ball. So I like the pick. I would take him over Ladd. I wouldn't take him over Marvin.
I'm kind of worried about Thomas's touchdown regression. But I mean, it could have been even higher because he had quite a few end zone drops. But I do like do like him, and as a retro pick, obviously he jumps way up the board from where he went. You were talking about where he was going in my home league rookie draft. He went as essentially the 205.
Holy cow!
The pick right before him was Blake Corum. Thank you. Swing and a miss. No, and the thing that what he was able to do on that absolute trash franchise with Trevor Lawrence going through his battles this year, and then Mac Jones and his noodle arm, like, it's pretty remarkable. But I think he's propped up a lot by touchdowns, which, as we all know, are not sticky or predictable. So I like the target share that Ladd McConkey has. I like Neighbors, obviously. We got into a debate a couple weeks ago on an Undroppables Dynasty show about who are you taking in a redraft of the rookie class, Neighbors or Thomas. And Neighbors had an equally terrible quarterback situation, if not even worse, and managed to come out of the season with like 160 targets or something like that.
Mhm.
And that's going to stay. I mean, that's going to remain sticky. So Neighbors absolutely lived up to all of his analytics and yards per route run and yards after the catch and all that stuff. Like, he's as dynamic as we all thought he was looking at on paper. But Brian Thomas Jr., I mean, he held his own, and he's a nice deep threat, and I like where they sit as Neighbors 1 and Thomas 2. Let's go LSU, go Tigers.
I just want to throw one funny thing out about Malik Neighbors. So he only played in 14 games. He is currently first in the league in targets with 162.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Jamar Chase with 161, and they're both 10 ahead the next guy. So, like, Neighbors is crushing it on a per game basis.
Right.
But I'm going to talk about somebody that crushes it all the time. Dad's for Ladd. Listen, it's not hard for me. I'm just going to draft the receiver that got 1,000 yards, that earns targets at a high rate, that's tied to Justin Herbert. Like, I'm not going to roll the dice with these quarterbacks. Like, I think there's a discussion to be had over whether you want to take him over Caleb, whether you want to take him over Bo Nix, Michael Penix. Like, if those guys hit, they're going to be awesome for your team for forever. But I already know this wide receiver has hit and is going to stay a hit for a while. So if you're a little risk averse, like I am when doing shows, I'm going to take Ladd McConkey. If you're a little risk seeking, like I am in my home league, like an idiot, I'll go with one of the quarterbacks.
Yes. No, I like that. Ladd, I mean, Fantasy and Frames loves Ladd. We've been shouting from the mountaintops for Ladd for quite a while here, going into the off season and everything, going into the season. And just watching what he did there was so impressive. Like, I do got to give a little bit of a shout out. Is anybody else like as impressed or surprised by the bounce back of Quentin Johnston as I am? Like, so happy for that guy. Hope he figures it out. But no, yeah, that was a big reason why I thought that Ladd was like going to be the guy there and everything, was because that was the only other target that they really had was Quentin Johnston.
Is Quentin Johnston good, or did he just catch 8 touchdowns from blown coverages?
Bingo.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
He had
But he
a little
caught
bit
him.
of positive aggression towards better efficiency numbers. That was kind of like on the rise. He had a lot of drop balls. He had a lot of like questionable passes thrown to him, and he wasn't really used to his best abilities in his route tree. And I think they kind of fixed that a little bit with Greg Roman coming in.
Yep.
Yeah,
You can catch it with your body when you're wide open like that.
right.
Problem solved.
Yeah, I have my. I'm not a huge, like, not a lot of people follow me on Twitter. I'm not like a big Twitter personality or anything like that. But my number one tweet of all time, like the most business I've gotten off of anything, I said, just took Ladd McConkey over Rome Odunze at the 108 in my first rookie draft of the year, and I will not apologize for it. And then boom, it blew up like no other tweet I've had. I got more comments in it. I got crapped on by so many people telling me that it was a clown take and all that stuff. And I just want to say to all you haters, suck it.
Suck it. Love that. You know, I just realized I've been neglecting the people in the comments. I see you all out there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Like we were saying before, Vince, This is a little bit late, but he's got your back. He's a Bo Lever, and we got
believe in Bo Nix.
we got the fantasy football RPG in here, backing up JT's pick of Drake May.
More than Bo Nix in fewer games this year too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's Baker with a little more rushing upside.
We got Vince again. How good are milk and cookies? That must have been something that I missed. I'm sorry, Vince. We're a little bit late. But milk and cookies. Anybody? 101, 102? I love milk and cookies.
I'm more of a brownie guy.
Is that a cannabis strain?
I'm taking Eggnogs 101.
Ooh. Nice. Let's see. Jamie in the chat. Happy New Year, Jamie. It's good to see you.
What's up, Jamie? Go Browns.
And he is bringing us actually on to our next comment, or our next discussion. So thank you very much. I'm gonna we'll bounce back to that, Jamie, in just a moment here. I do want to get to some more of these comments. Vince, it's the Bears. I thought Caleb would break the mold. I realize now it's not possible. Caleb will retire in 3 years. That is a spicy meatball. I think he's got it. Fantasy football sheep, Davis over Tracy. I think he's getting a little bit ahead of us in the draft order here, but I think that you're looking at it backwards. We didn't do a snake. We went linear with our draft here. Let's see, Vince again. I think QJ has mastered a few plays with his mate Herb, but still not a reliable, consistent option. I think we've seen the best of QJ. Shout out to Ladd for helping draw coverage for him too. No, that's a good point. And we got MA football guy in the chat saying, "Hey, Mike, you got a follower."
Hey.
I like it. All right, but yes, back to what we're here for. Jamie was kind enough to give us a little sneak peek into the fact that yes, wow, Marv has fallen. He went at let's take a look here. We got 101. We got Jaden Daniels. We got Brock Bowers, 102, 103, Malik Neighbors, 104, Drake May, 105, Caleb Williams. Brian Thomas went 106, Ladd McConkey, 107, and then Marvin Harrison at 108. Yes, that is quite the slight difference from what we saw in the beginning of the year. He was we said earlier Caleb Williams was the 101 in Superflex. Marvin Harrison Jr. was the 101 in standard 1 QB play. In everything that I saw. So what do you think about that, JJ? We haven't heard from you in a while. What do you think about Harrison going that late?
I mean, you have to look at his production this year with Kyler Murray. He had his starting quarterback the entire year, and we kind of saw what he could do. He could make some exceptional catches, but I think for the most part, he just existed, right? He didn't flourish this year. So you can't take him ahead if we're redoing this, and that's what we're doing based upon what we saw. Like you can't take him over Neighbors, you can't take him over Thomas, and you can't take him over McConkey. So you kind of end up where you're going to end up. Hopefully, I think a lot of people are going to be overlooking him as the season goes on. I know some people have talked about he's a good trade target. Once you put that into the ether, everybody now knows he's a good trade target. But yeah, sure. If somebody gets tired of him, I always talk about the players who every time you start them, they cause you a little bit of pain. Maybe that's as a Jets fan. It happens a lot to me. But, that player who you put into your lineup every week and you had high expectations for, and when they disappoint you and it gets harder and harder to hit that, put them in that starting lineup, sometimes those are the players you can pry away from an owner. So I'm not giving up on Marvin Harrison. I think he had a completely adequate rookie year. I just think sometimes we forget what rookie years look like.
Bingo.
Yeah.
We were kind of looking at the top 24 receivers of the draft. We rated them by first downs per route run, yards per route run against man, also against zone, yak per reception, and missed tackles forced per reception. And the biggest correlation from that class into NFL production this season, all of the guys that were at the very top, like in the top 5 or 6 in terms of first down per route run, that's obviously the most important metric that we want to look at. But it was the yards after catch per reception that separated Xavier Worthy, Malik Neighbors, and Ladd McConkey from Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze. Those guys were elite across the board. So I did an aggregation of all of the receivers' ranks in each of the different categories, assigned double points to certain categories. And Malik Neighbors and Ladd McConkey hit the top 2 spots in the whole metric.
That's for Ladd.
Marvin was 6th. So that kind of stood out to me going into the drafts. Like, okay, maybe I want to kind of like hedge my bets on this guy a little bit. I let some people take him over like ahead of me, which was fine. Brian Thomas Jr. winds up way down at like number 16. So I didn't see that coming at all. And that tells you how much opportunity has looks in the face of metrics and says, screw you. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of indicators that this, like, he wasn't the actual best of the class. He might be big and he has the bloodline. I think a lot of people were oversold on that. But he just doesn't separate. And you can tell when he gets the ball, he gets tackled immediately. He doesn't create. And those other guys, they're doing that. They're getting into the open field after they get the ball. And those are the kinds of things that are adding fantasy value to their point totals that Marvin Harrison Jr. just isn't doing.
Yeah, I think what scares me the most about Harrison is, I made the point when I was talking about Caleb that there could be some regime change in Chicago, and there could be a lot of things could look a little bit different. I don't see what's going to really change in Arizona. I mean, to JJ's point, he had a starting quarterback all season. The Cardinals are finally, at least I'll say, competitive. They're not the doormat of the league like they've been for the last few years. So if your ownership, I doubt they're changing the coaching staff. They're not making wholesale, management changes. So what's really going to be different for him going forward that gives you inspiration to think, oh, something's going to really change, or he's going to break out next? I mean, he's going to have basically the same cast, the same coaching staff, the same everything around him. Why wouldn't we expect the same level of production?
No, that's a good point. Yeah, solid.
Maybe the young player gets better.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know.
That is fair.
Yeah, but I think sometimes we really overvalue player growth.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are who they are for the most part. He's not going to add skills. He didn't go to the combine. And to me, like, not even running any of just the basic metrics, like running the 40, like, he mustn't have liked the numbers he was going to put up, and he didn't think anything positive was going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Does he have that dog in him? Does he want to compete? Does he want to get better? Yeah. I don't know.
That was just my intrusive devil's advocate. Like, I agree. He's kind of stuck in this situation for a while, but I don't know. Sometimes players just get better and then we all look silly.
No, that's fair.
Yep.
I mean, he does have a competent cast around. Let's just say hypothetically, what if they get T. Higgins in Arizona?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's what I was gonna say. That's why I was raising my hand. Yeah. What happens to Marvin Harrison Jr.? You're a smart man, Jason. I like you. Smart man, Jason. But what happens to Marvin Harrison's value when they add another guy that's not a Greg Dortch on the opposite side of him that actually can take away some coverage?
We will not have this Michael Wilson slander.
I mean, they do have Trey McBride.
Right.
Never heard of him.
Right.
I think the biggest thing about Marvin Harrison Jr. is he came out of the season with 110 targets. Mm-hmm. So if he's in that 100 plus target range, he had 57 catches.
Right.
That's almost a 50% catch rate. Right. Something's wrong there. I don't think that's him. I think that's a Kyler Murray issue. And whatever they're doing with him in the route tree is not the same as they're doing with Trey McBride. And Kyler has the ability to get the ball into McBride's hands. He doesn't have the ability to get the ball into Marvin Harrison Jr.'s hands. So until there's a quarterback change, I think we see exactly the same thing from Harrison. It's kind of like George Pickens from a couple of years ago. Nobody could get him the ball. Kenny Pickett couldn't throw him the ball. Mason Rudolph couldn't throw him the ball. He had one of the biggest, discrepancies between targets and catchable ball rates, and then Russell Wilson comes in and he's got somebody that can put it in his hands, it's going to take a change for Marvin Harrison Jr. to get there. When he does get there, how his usage goes is going to dictate what if they can get him into space, he might be okay. But as it is, it's a bunch of contested catches and he goes down right away, doesn't, add anything to his catches. And then he doesn't have a lot of catches. So they got to do something if they want him to succeed, because 110 targets and 57 catches is not good.
No, not at all. Let's see here.
I've got to jump over to the other video in a second, but let's finish up. Let's do one more talking point, and then I'll jump over there so we can wrap things up on a high note.
Yeah, sure.
We don't need to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s down year. Okay, let's go on a high note.
Let's just skip over Bo too. Let's just do Bucky.
Let's do Bucky.
We all want to talk about Bucky.
Let's talk about Bucky. All right, I like that. Mike, you start us off. How do you feel about Bucky?
It's going to be very hard for me to keep him out of my top 10 running backs in Dynasty just because of how gross the position is. Wow. Also, the dude is a stud. Every time he touches the ball, he looks like one of the best athletes on the field. He's not doing it with extreme speed. He's doing it with great contact balance, vision, setting up his blockers, doing all the things that you want a running back to do. I think this coaching staff's going to look at Rachaad White in the offseason and be like, what are you doing? What is it you do here? So
what would you say you do here?
If Bucky could just learn to pass block a tiny bit, then we're set.
Can I ask a question to Mike? What happens to Bucky Irving's value if Liam Cohn gets a head coaching gig?
It goes down a teensy-weensy bit. But I think that he's shown, it's more of a volume thing, and maybe the scheme. But the talent and his ability, he did it in Oregon. He did it in Oregon. He's going to do it in Tampa Bay. If they change the scheme a little bit, it could just go a teensy bit worse. But, they worked him in on a very low snap share to begin the season. And as the touches went up, the coaching staff caught on, this guy needs the ball. And you want to see that from a running back.
What if we get a nasty signing down in Tampa Bay, like a Najee Harris signing down there to steal some volume?
I'd be more worried about the draft. If they go day 2 in the draft on a running back, there's some freaks in this class.
Okay.
Right.
Audience, keep your ears perked. If they go Travion Henderson early in the draft, you know why. You know to fade Bucky Irving. So that's a good high note to go out on. We talk about Bucky Irving. Mike's talking about Bucky Irving. Hyped up Vlad McConkey tonight. It was a good show. It's
a good day for me. That's all I want to talk about ever.
That's right.
There you go.
All right, I gotta jump out of here, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Rick. Dickie. Sorry, it had to come to this, but I'm glad we could face each other in the championship. So
no, exactly.
Awesome.
Me too, man. And thank you so much for joining us. Really, we'll see you on the next show.
Absolutely. Peace.
Tube.
See you, buddy.
We do need to wrap this up because the next show is coming on. Like we said, we skipped Bo Nix. We kind of talked Bo Nix already a little bit. We talked Bucky Irving. We did a little bit of on Odunze too. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to add about Odunze that we haven't talked about yet?
Imagine the JSN situation, but a worse prospect.
Oh. That's exactly what I was always thinking, and that's why I faded Odunze starting out, was just because I just did not like that landing spot. I was hoping that the product would outperform in the end of things, but I was proven that I was right, I feel, given how things played out. But yeah, it will be interesting to see if he does take a step forward now that if Keenan Allen does leave and everything. I'm really interested to see what he does there.
Or what he does with a competent OC.
Right. Yeah, that too.
They went from Waldron to Davis, who had only been a running backs coach except for 1 year.
Yep.
Jesus. That you couldn't have a worse situation.
Yeah. Yep. All the stuff we said about Caleb Williams, Odunze. Yep. And let's finish this off. We're gonna just talk about Michael Penix real quick. He is the 112 let's see, Jason, what do you think about Michael Penix? Do you think that he's going to be the answer there in Atlanta?
Well, first of all, you got to consider the format. We're talking about Superflex, and anybody with a pulse on a starting job in Superflex is worth your draft pick, especially in the last pick of the first round.
Right.
I do think he showed a lot of potential. I liked his arm talent coming out, and it was kind of funny because he just kind of got put into the closet by the entire community because of that Kirk Cousins situation down there, and everybody went like, "Oh, I thought he was a nice kid, but that's it for him." Like that's a wrap because he'll be on ice for a couple of years, and we don't have time. Nobody has the patience to sit around on an asset for 2 years on your fantasy team, and all of a sudden here he is. He's in the forefront. I don't know that we're going to get enough of a sample size in these last couple of games that he's going to play to really evaluate whether he's got it going forward. We're still going to be basically going off college evaluations going into next year and trying to compare him to some of these guys that have played in NFL games, which is going to be difficult. But at the point where you're getting him and at the value at which he's costing you now, I think now's the time to go get him if you're a believer of his, because if he does succeed, it's only obviously going to get more expensive. So you still have the benefit of the unknown right now, and you're not going to have that for much longer.
Yeah, tape-wise, I was a Pac-12 guy. I watched a lot of Oregon football. I watched every game that Washington played in the 2023 season. And both of them being prospective Raiders quarterbacks in 2024, I watched a lot of games. And in 2022, I saw a lot of really bad things that I see from Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders now, making poor decisions, bad footwork, not having their shoulders squared up, staring down receivers. And then in 2023, I saw both of those guys fix those things to the point where they looked closer to NFL ready. And I did have a higher grade on Penix than Bo Nix, and that was based on all the games that I watched. I just didn't think Bo Nix profiled to be a winning quarterback in the NFL just simply because he doesn't throw the ball down the field, and Penix absolutely did. He also had 3 pretty fantastic wide receivers in that Washington wide receiver room, and he benefited a lot from that. But he's always been that guy, and playing the last 3 games of the season, he's at like 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions right now. Like you said, it's a terrible sample size to judge on. We just got to give him like next year. And I am pretty high on him. And I think I'm going to target him pretty heavily over the course of the next 8 months. Because, I like the guy, and he's got a job, and he's got some weapons in front of him. So
exactly.
I love the spot right there.
Biggs, I have a fun question for you if I haven't completely cut out. Would you rather have Michael Penix or any quarterback in the 2025 class?
Michael Penix. Gosh, I am so down on this class. Cam Ward is the only guy that I see that can do anything. If Drew Aller or Quinn Ewers were coming out, I would like one of those guys, probably Aller, but there's nobody who's going to be a Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud and come in and turn around a franchise next year.
Right.
They are all projects, including Cam Ward. I like him coming out as a 3-year declare or 4-year declare, whatever it is. He's younger, but I see him more as like an Anthony Richardson. He's gonna need some years to percolate, and there's nobody who's ready now. And if we're in a situation, especially as a Raiders, where we need somebody to do it, I'm trading for JJ McCarthy or trying to grab Sam Darnold or something like that, or even Aiden O'Connell. His numbers were like right there with CJ Stroud this season. So, his career numbers over the last 2 years were right in line with what CJ Stroud did this year, like in terms of completion percentage, quarterback rating, touchdown to interception rate. Aiden O'Connell is CJ Stroud in 2025 or 2024. So I run it back. And I don't waste a high draft pick on any of these quarterbacks. If I'm the Giants, I throw it at Cam Ward.
I like that call.
Nice. I think that is a perfect note to end it on. We are out of time. Gentlemen, thank you again so much for joining us. Again, we got JJ Wenner joining us. JJ, tell everybody where they can find you.
We have one last Rider Dynasty podcast tomorrow night, IDP Plus.
All right. Biggs, thank you again for joining us from the Undroppables. Where else can they find you? Anywhere? Just on the Undroppables?
I have a Raiders show on the Undroppables Fantasy Football Advice Network. We have a ton of shows going throughout the week. So go to fantasysportsadvice.com and download. I have a Dynasty show on Player Profiler News and another news show. Look for me on Player Profiler going down to the Senior Bowl and the Super Bowl, producing content from those two spots, awesome. As well as the Combine and Draft later. But Senior Bowl especially. I'm going to be rubbing elbows with Brett Coleman. He doesn't know who I am, but I'm going to make him know who I am. And yeah, just Undroppables and fantasyfootballadvice.com on YouTube, or Fantasy Football Advice Network on YouTube. You can find all of our shows.
Heck yeah. All right. Thank you again. Jason Snyder, thank you so much, man, for joining us. This was you were last second joining us, so thank you so much, man.
Tell everybody where they can find you. If they don't already know. You can find me on Dynasty Nerds. Obviously, with the regular season wrapping up, this is kind of where Dynasty season begins, and now we're going to start to do talent evaluations. We're going to do projections. We're going to have all that fun stuff coming. So that's all in the pipeline, and you can find it all there. And obviously, you can find me individually. I'm on Twitter. You see my handle there. So love to chat ball anytime.
Heck yeah. And Mike, frozen Mike Cash. This is like a perfect face for you to be frozen on too. Like, at least when you went, because you were frozen and you're like, Biggs, I got a question for you, and you almost look like you're looking at him like.
That's the exact face I made when
the best ventriloquist act I've ever seen.
But you can find me over at Fantasy Football RPG. We're going over top 10 running back prospects in the 2025 draft. So catch us there tomorrow. Or you can find my written content over at Football Guys or at Last Word on Sports.
Awesome.
Shout out Football Guys. I got a sticker over that too.
Yeah, I saw that. It made me happy. Well, Black Hat Joe.
There you go. Well, and I am Rich Sickles, the Gingerbeard Man. You can find me on Twitter, Rich Sickles GBM. You can find me over at Blue Sky, Richard.Sickles, I believe, at Blue Sky. Thank you again, everyone, who watched on YouTube, listened to us from your favorite podcast platforms, whether you're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Be sure to follow all of us. Be sure to visit fantasyandframes.com's website, subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever you consume your favorite podcasts. While you're there, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave a review. If there's anything that we can be doing better, anything that you think that we should be adding, I'd really appreciate it if you could let us know. I'd like to know it. And also be sure to like all of the Fantasy and Frame shows. We're Dynasty 365 for your Dynasty needs. Fourth and Frames is coming on actually right now for your redraft content. We're a little bit late. They're probably like, Rich, get off the show. Shoot the Gap for IDP content will be coming on later on. The Daily Fix for your DraftKings DFS content is on Fridays. And tune in Thursdays for the Draft Show. That is going to be a great time. You can also find me on there, and you can tune in on Sundays for the Fantasy and Frame Sunday Kickoff Show. Again, thank you so much to all of our viewers, listeners, and those in the comments. We appreciate you all. We really do. Good night, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Rich.
See you guys.
Bye.